A wife is a woman of noble character. Proverbs 14:1 reads, "A wise woman builds her house on a foundation of godly precepts, and the household thrives. But the foolish one who lacks spiritual insight tears it down with her own hand by ignoring godly principles." When we speak of godly precepts, we are referring to general rules intended to regulate behavior and thought. The word precept is Latin for warn and instruct. This is to say, a woman who is governed and regulated in accordance with God's good nature, loving heart, and gentle spirit will have a prosperous household. In terms of building, one doesn't start building with raw materials. Building always begins first as a concept and design, meaning an idea of the desired result and an image in mind of how it's supposed to look and in the way it's supposed to function. These concepts and the design must coincide with the outcomes the wife is looking for. For example, I was mindful of my own actions and ways of behavior prior to knowing my husband was my husband. While I may not have known his face, I knew his character. I made sure to conduct myself in accordance to his character in my daily ways of being. This noble wife also takes the time to build herself up during her singlehood in preparation for him. This woman has insight into her own future through the power of discernment. And what is she working on exactly? Her relationship with God. Taking the time to develop understanding on who God is, her relation to Him, His character traits, His natural ways and desires for her. Her emotional state. She's addressing emotional traumas, preventing her from trusting and loving fully, enabling her to open herself up to pour herself into the marriage and family. She's learning a new skill set. These skill sets will assist in managing the household, budgeting finances, coping with others, as well as developing herself fully. She's developing trust and reliance on God as her main source for provision and guidance and leadership. God, as her source of provision, puts her in the mind of others to consider her as someone in need of a blessing. And through intuition, God will direct her and lead her to others who will help fulfill her wants, desires, and needs. This will happen in ways the human mind is incapable of comprehending. This is why her family sees her as someone who was blessed and highly favored by the Lord. She is developing as the wife her husband desires to marry. Wives never settle, they measure up. God will deliver the best of the creme. She's learning his likes and dislikes. She's understanding his preferences and becomes them. She's not afraid of becoming his helpmeet. Truth be told, she finds honor in being so and delights in her duties. She's learning to embrace her feminine ways. She is prepared to function, to work or operate in a particular way, an activity or purpose natural to or intended for a personal thing, in the way that will attract her husband, for it is known that feminine energy is the energy that attracts. In essence, she's preparing and planning for his arrival, prioritizing him before ever meeting. Defining the Proverbs 31 wife. What defines the Proverbs 31 wife? She's a virtuous woman. She is considered a virtuous wife, not because only married women can have these qualities, but because this is a guide for marriage from a mother to a son who is a king in search for his queen. The virtuous woman can be single or married, but each will have particular ways that the virtue is expressed, either in their singleness or as a family. Even so, there are precise and in some cases concise, clear-cut guidelines that are in place to be able to distinguish and set apart for measurement. of which we'll take an in-depth look into what they are now. What is a wife in accordance to the Bible? Proverbs 31, verses 10 through 31. Description of a worthy woman. An excellent woman, one who is spiritual, capable, intelligent, and virtuous. Who is he who can find her? Her value is more precious than jewels, and her worth is far above rubies or pearls. The heart of her husband trusts in her with secure confidence, and he will have no lack of gain. She comforts, encourages, and does him only good and not evil all the days of her life. She looks for wool and flax, and works willingly with her hands in delight. She is like the merchant ships, abounding with treasure. She brings her household's food from far away. She rises also while it is still night, and gives food to her household, and assigns tasks to her maids. She considers a field before she buys or accepts it, expanding her business prudently. With her profits, she plants fruitful vines in her vineyard. She equips herself with strength, spiritual, mental, and physical fitness for her God-given task, and makes her arms strong. She sees that her gain is good. Her lamp does not go out, but it burns continually throughout the night. She is prepared for whatever lies ahead. She stretches out her hands to the distaff, and her hands hold the spindle, as she spins wool into thread for clothing. She opens and extends her hand to the poor, and she reaches out her filled hands to the needy. She does not fear the snow for her household, for all in her household are clothed in expensive scarlet wool. She makes for herself coverlets, cushions, and rugs of tapestry. Her clothing is linen, pure and fine, in purple wool. Her husband is known in the city's gate, when he sits among the elders of the land. She makes fine linen garments and sells them, and supplies sashes to the merchants. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and her position is strong and secure. And she smiles at the future, knowing that she and her family are prepared. She opens her mouth in skillful and godly wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue, giving counsel and instruction. She looks well to how things go in her household, and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed, happy, prosperous, to be admired. Her husband also, and he praises her, saying, "Many daughters have done nobly and well with the strength of character that is steadfast and goodness, but you excel them all." Charm and grace are deceptive, and superficial beauty is vain. But a woman who fears the Lord, reverently worshiping, obeying, serving, and trusting him with all filled respect, she will be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates of the city. 10. Searching for and finding a virtuous woman and wife. Who can find a virtuous wife? In this last section of Proverbs, Lemuel's mother spoke to him about the qualities of a virtuous wife. And the following verses speaks of her character and activity, giving Lemuel an idea of the woman to search for and to prize. Traditionally understood as being addressed to women, it is more accurately understood as wisdom spoken by an older woman to an unmarried man, so he could know the qualities and character of a suitable wife before marriage, and value and praise his wife for her virtuous character once married. It is primarily a search list for a man and only secondarily a checklist for a woman. It describes the kind of wife the potential husband should pray for and seek after. This chapter serves as a guide for measurement for the wifely woman, depicting the kind of character she must have acquired prior to marriage. It reminds us to follow and fear the wisdom of God, so we may be deemed worthy of and compatible with such a quality man. She's rare. Precious gems like rubies are both valued and rare. In a sense, the complete profile of the Proverbs 31 woman is an ideal goal, much as the listing of the character of the godly man for leadership in both 1 Timothy chapter 3 and Titus chapter 1. It would be rare to find a woman who excels in every aspect of the list, so it should not be used to compare or condemn either oneself or another woman. Rather, this character should reflect the values and aspirations of the woman who walks in the fear of the Lord and godly wisdom. Her worth is far above rubies. The woman described in the rest of the chapter is rare and valuable, but her worth, is greater than what she does, as explained in the following verses. Her value or worth should not be reduced to the performance of these qualities. She will be virtuous before she acts in a virtuous manner. 11 to 12. Her relationship with her husband. She's trustworthy. Her husband can trust her, and she will greatly enrich his life. The virtuous woman not only has the trust of her husband, but it is safely given to her. Her character is trustworthy, filled with integrity. She will speak, act, and live with wisdom, and therefore God's blessings will also be on their home. He will have no lack of gain. A foolish woman who can't be trusted takes some measures of blessings away from the home, and this is often seen financially or materially. He is confident of her love, care, and fidelity. He dare trust her with his soul's secrets, etc. He doubteth not of her chastity, secrecy, or care to keeping his family. She's emotionally healthy. She does him only good. Previous chapters explained the negative effects of a wife with bad intentions. The opposite is also true. A virtuous wife does her husband good instead of evil, and she continues being a blessing all the days of her life. The sense is that her goodness and faithful character becomes deeper and greater through the passing years. She's consistent in her being. Her good is not capricious, swaying. It is consistent and permanent while she and her husband live. In other words, her commitment to her husband's well-being is true, not false, constant, not temperamental, reliable, not fickle. 13 to 16. Her work and ingenuity. She delights in work. King Lemuel's mother described not the resume of a godly woman, but lifelike examples of the busy, hard-working, and creative character of the virtuous wife. Seeking wool and flax demonstrates the virtuous woman's resourcefulness in seeking out and finding things that are necessary resources for her tasks. Willingly working with her hands, the virtuous wife is not proud or haughty and does not think that working with her hands is beneath her. She works in simple and practical ways for her family and home. What sets this virtuous wife apart from spouses is that she willingly works, and her labor is a cheerful service. Her will, her heart are all in it. She's frugal. She's frugal about spending on what's important and getting the most value for the money. And she's like a merchant ship in that she will travel distances for the best quality deserving of her household. The virtuous wife provides food for her family and home after the pattern of a merchant ship, which operates with regularity and effort. If required, she even rises while it is yet night to either get or prepare food for her household. The simile with the merchant ship suggests that she brings a continual supply of abundance. She is organized. It wasn't uncommon for many families in biblical times to have servants or hired workers. The virtuous wife wisely manages and cares for such maidservants, showing her compassion and care even beyond her immediate family. She's decisive. The virtuous wife is forward-thinking, combining her creativity with hard work. She thoughtfully considers and invests and uses the profits to better her family and their future, in this case by planting a vineyard. She is profitable and prosperous. She does not restrict herself to the bare necessities of life. She is able to procure some of its comforts. She plants a vineyard that she may have wine for a beverage, for medicine, and for sacrifice. This also is procured from her own labor. Verses 17 to 20, her strength and compassion. The strength of the virtuous wife is holistic in a sense. Firmly grounded in obedience, devotion, and love towards God, she is unwavering. She is disciplined, bearing an attitude of servitude to God, her family, as well as her community. She clothed herself in the armor of the Lord. The idea of equipping oneself is equivalent to setting a strengthening belt around the midsection, such as a girdle, in order to get ready for some kind of heroic or difficult action. She takes care of her own health and strength, not only by means of useful labor, but by healthy exercise. She avoids what might enervate her body or soften her mind. She is ever active and girt ready for every necessary exercise. She is wise and experienced enough to get good materials and merchandise for her home. Her wisdom teaches her to buy oil for her lamp of such quality that it burns through the night and does not go out. She takes care to manufacture the best articles of the kind and to lay on a reasonable price that she may secure a ready sale. Her goods are in high repute, and she knows she can sell as much as she can make, and she finds that while she pleases her customers, she increases her own profits. The virtuous wife knows how to use the tools and technology available to manage the home well. She is useful in this way. The distaff is a stick or spindle onto which wool or flax is wound for spinning, and she uses both hands to do the work well. The distaff is the straight rod, and the spindle is the round or circular part. The spindle and the staff are the most ancient of all instruments used for spinning or making thread. The spinning wheel superseded them in these countries, but still they were in considerable use till spinning machinery superseded both of them and the spinning wheels in general. Virtuous wife is much more than a skillful manager or homemaker. She is also a woman of great compassion. She cares for and helps both the poor and the needy, doing more than throwing them money, but she actually draws near to them and extends her hand and reaches out to those in need. Her hard work was not only for her own needs and the needs of her family. She also worked to help the poor and the needy. This was the hand that was diligently at work in the previous verse with an acquired skill. It is not the hand of a lazy, wealthy woman. She uses her industry in charitable ways. Verses 21 to 23. God's blessings on the virtuous wife. She is readily prepared. She has no fear of winter for her household. Everyone in her family has the best quality of warm clothing and bedding. She's modest. The virtuous wife has the wisdom, diligence, and preparation to ready her household for all kinds of challenges and adversity. She has provided enough, not only for their necessity and defense against cold and other inconveniences, but also for their delight and ornament. With God's blessings on her wisdom and diligence, the virtuous wife makes good things for herself and enjoys personal marks of God's material blessings on her family. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. So instead of purchasing trendy items, she instead uses her talents and skill sets to create her home decor. From pillows to rugs, she makes them. She is a planner. Scarlet refers to a type of very fine, high-quality wool cloth that was made in various colors, including, but not limited to, bright red. Therefore, the virtuous woman of Proverbs 31 was not afraid of winter or the snow, because her children were well dressed, prepared for the snow and the cold weather. A woman of noble character is a planner and diligent and makes sure that her family has warm clothes and other items to protect them from the elements of the winter. Seeing this through another perspective, it symbolizes that her children have been fed spiritually and are saved by the blood of Jesus, just like Rahab was when she hung a red scarlet cloth on her door, sparing her life. She's proud of her husband. The virtuous wife sees her family as a blessing, and that her husband and household are also esteemed and honored among the elders. She is a loving wife and feels for the respectability and honor of her husband's character. He is respected not only on the account of the neatness and cleanliness of his appearance and image, but because he is the husband of a woman who is justly held in universal esteem, and her complete management of household affairs gives him full leisure to devote himself to the civil interests of the community. Verses 24 to 25. The clothing she sells and the clothing she has. She's confident in her business. The wisdom and diligence of the virtuous wife leads her to not only provide the necessities for her family, but she makes enough, and of such great quality that she sells those necessities to the sellers, the merchants, although she cares deeply for her family. She isn't fearful. The wife cares more about the display of her character than the outward display of her clothing. When it comes to character, she is one of the best dressed, clothed with strength and honor, so that she shall rejoice not only in the present day but also in times to come. She is authentic and genuine in her nature. With her, there is no turning off and on. What you see is pretty much what you'll continue to get. She trusts in the Lord completely. There's great joy in rest and relaxation, and this virtuous wife knows this. In recognition of this, she's disciplined and obedient to God and her intuition, following instructions and or commands given. As such, she excels in all that she does for her family. Verses 26 to 27. Her inner life. She is wise and speaks with purpose. The description of her inner life continues from the previous verse. She is neither sullenly silent nor full of vain and impertinent talk, as many women are, but speaks directly and piously as an occasion calls for. Both her deliberate speech, she opens her mouth, and her spontaneous words on her tongue are marked by wisdom and kindness. Her speech contains vitality, and her words are filled with the love of God with the use of her tongue. She is revered as eminent and excellent. Her tongue is the law of kindness. This is the most distinguishable excellence of this woman. There are very few of those who are called managing women who are not lords over their husbands, tyrants over their servants, and insolent among their neighbors. Specifically, loving teacher is on her tongue. But this woman, with all her eminence and excellence, was a meek and quiet spirit, blessed woman. She is not lazy. She watches over the ways of her household. As a faithful guardian, the virtuous wife is observant of her family and their ways. The choice to watch so carefully means that she does not choose to eat the bread of idleness. It's been said, she has an oar in every boat, an eye in every business. She spies and pries into her children's and servants' carriages, and exacts of them strict conversation and growth in godliness. She overlooks the whole family no otherwise than if she were in a watchtower. Verses 28 to 29. Her family's public praise. She's loved and honored by her family. A woman of such character and wisdom rightfully received the blessings and praises of her family. Both her children and her husband not only see, but also speak of the blessedness of the woman who brings such blessings to their household. This is not only a description of the virtuous wife, but also an exhortation, a strong warning or advice to children and a husband to bless and praise the mother and wife of godly character. She is praised by her husband. 29 reads, "Many daughters have done nobly and well with the strength of character that is steadfast in goodness, but you excel them all." These are the words of the husband as he praises his wife with words that encourage, reward, and nourish her. In a completely literal sense, this could only be true of one woman in any given community at any given time. Yet, we perfectly understand the sense of this. Every home can have a wife and mother that does exceed them all. Every husband can legitimately feel, "I've got the best wife," and children feel, "We have the best mom." Verses 30 to 31. The praise and the reward of the wise woman. She values beauty. King Lemuel's mother noted the passing nature of outer beauty and the deceitful nature of manipulative charm. In contrast, a woman who fears the Lord has beauty that does not pass and charm that does not deceive. Charm is deceitful because it gives a false representation of the person, oftentimes an attempt to mask the most deformed soul and to many evil and hateful qualities. Physical appearance is not necessarily dismissed. It simply does not endure, as do those qualities that the fear of the Lord produces. One who pursues beauty may very well be disappointed by the character of the beautiful person. Charm and beauty are not bad. They simply are inadequate reasons to marry a girl. The young man should first seek a woman who fears the Lord, and whoever finds such a woman should make sure that her gifts and accomplishments do not go unappreciated. Here, what we call the fear of the Lord simply implies her understanding and personal experiences with God to know future outcomes based on her decision-making. A woman who fears the Lord shall be praised. Proverbs begins with a strong connection between wisdom and the fear of the Lord in Proverbs 1, verse 7. Here, the collection ends describing the virtuous wife as filled with wisdom, beauty, and charm that marks a woman who fears the Lord. 1. The fact that she truly fears the Lord shows that she had a real relationship with Him. She was not only a Martha busy with service, but she was also Mary, walking in fear and reverence towards the Lord. 2. She, the woman who fears the Lord, has the character of a virtuous wife. The way the character is expressed will differ according to time and culture, but the character itself is universal. God honors the virtuous wife, the woman of wisdom and diligence, and makes her one of the greatest blessings given to a community. 3. By definition, the fear of the Lord means in part living according to the wisdom revealed in between the pages of the Bible. It's been stated this woman's itemized, self-sacrificing activities for others exemplifies the fear of the Lord. 4. Now coming to the end of the book, this pinpoints the organizing factor in this brilliant woman's universe. It is her fear of God that enables her to see that real greatness will come to her not through self-centered aggressiveness and not through merely external beauty, but through godly devotion and the wholehearted commitment to God's creational intentions for her. She does not brag. This virtuous woman will be rewarded in the form of good fruits in accordance with her active labor by the God she fears, and rewarded by what she has accomplished for her family and herself, as they publicly speak of her godliness and wisdom. Let her own works praise her in the gates. For the woman and man of wisdom, this reward is not their primary motivation, but the fitting result of their life lived in the fear of the Lord. The fruits of her hands. She is no less than woman wisdom made real. The richest woman wisdom offers, Proverbs 8:18, brought home by the hard work of the good wife of Proverbs 31:11. It is but just and fit that she should enjoy those benefits and praises with her excellent labors deserve. If men be silent, the lasting effects of her prudence and diligence will loudly triumph forth her praises. So what does this communicate to you? If you've said a wife is a character trait or disposition, then I'd say you're correct in your thinking. Men who are husbands to wives will never divorce her, for he recognizes her value and worth. He deems her as a blessing and an asset to him. Let's not overlook the fact he's been out there and knows what awaits him. Nor will a Proverbs 30 wife ever separate from her husband, for she's made the conscious decision to be his helpmeet. She is willing to be of service and ready to assist in his agenda for his family's success, which is working towards the greater good. She knows her role and delights in it fully, never stepping out of character. She exhibits qualities in a way that can only be mimicked by others briefly. She is truly an act tough to follow. Let's summarize the 25 top qualities she carries. Character traits displayed and natural intentions. She is faithful and trustworthy, emotionally healthy, and delights in work. She is frugal, organized, decisive, and is energetic and physically healthy. Industrious, she is hardworking. She's generous and prepared. She's said to be modest and proud of her husband, confident in her business, and is never fearful of what's to come. Exercising foresight, she's wise. She thinks before she speaks and is not lazy. Nurturing and blessed by her family, she values beauty, fears the Lord, and she bears good fruit in abundance. In conclusion, the biblical wife is a woman of character, never stepping out of her roles and duties. Her nature is consistent in her being. She possesses traits and a disposition of such, the woman outlined in verses 10 to 31, and keeps to the practices of them. As should you, if a worthy husband is what you're seeking for yourself.